Greetings nerdy list aficionados and welcome back. It's that time again. More heroes who got pregnant. Oftentimes with dramatic stories attached. My absolute favorite kind. I'm Sasha and these are the top 10 superheroes who got pregnant part 3. 30 superheroes. Giggity. I'm sorry, I've been reading your comments and they make me smile. I love how perplexed you were by the last thumb. Brood people, brood. Don't worry, I'll elaborate here. Let's get started. I've kept you waiting long enough. Number 10, Starfire. I know some of you have been yelling, where is Starfire? We're working our way up to it. Today we're going to be looking at the Starfire from the alternate universe situated in Kingdom Come. The same one where Wonder Woman and Superman got together. I saw your puns for that too. I see you. Kingdom Come is of course the 1996 miniseries that dealt with a future crop of heroes needing to be reined in by Superman, after some of them end up getting out of control. In this universe, Starfire and Nightwing ended up staying together and having a child, Nightstar. And I'm sorry to say that at the start, she was one of the heroes who was out of control. As many of the villains have been dispatched, a lot of the heroes are just fighting each other, kinda killing time. However, she ends up seeing that they are going too far and there's just a lot of collateral damage, and finds herself swayed by the mindset of the older heroes. But instead of joining Superman, she joins up with her grandfather, Batman, as a member of his new Outsiders team, which is made up of many new generation heroes. Number 9, Golden Age Black Canary. There were some interesting things that happened in between the Golden and Silver Ages, and one of those things is that the Golden Age Black Canary is the mother of the Silver Age one, and they both hailed originally from Earth 2. Earth 2 is the first parallel Earth, the cornerstone of the multiverse. The Flash of Two Worlds is the first story of the multiverse that would establish that this Earth was moving in tandem with the Silver Age, but further forward in time. So heroes had emerged earlier on the Golden Age Earth, as they had in real life. It was a little meta. As a result, this Earth was producing legacy characters, and Black Canary was one Dina Drake Lance, and she fought crime alongside her detective husband, Larry Lance. The two would have a daughter, Dina Laurel Lance, who would join the JSA, and eventually would make her way over to Earth 1, that being the main Earth engaged in the Silver Age. This was to be with Oliver Queen, Green Arrow. These two Earths would cross over enough that some of the characters on them were friends, and in this case, love interests. I mean, would you just leave your Earth for Mr. I was trapped on an island? Let me know down below. Number 8, Crystal and Quicksilver. Crystal is a member of the Inhumans, a princess who, like all Inhumans, developed her abilities after being exposed to the Terrigen Mist. She is the sister of Medusa, queen of the Inhumans, and as a result also has amazing hair. She would end up developing a romance and deep love with Quicksilver, the twin of Wanda Maximoff and former son of Magneto, cause you know, retcons. Horrible retcons. She would be featured alongside him often. In this period in Marvel history, there was a lot of build-up put into the romances, spanning multiple books and years. The editors wanted them to be very firmly established. She would eventually marry Quicksilver and have a daughter with him named Luna. However, their relationship would suffer when she had an affair with Scarlet Witch and Vision's next-door neighbor, some guy named Joe, allegedly because Pietro was mistreating her. But it's okay, this was all mind control. Makes it better? Luna would remain a character and has had plots all her own, like being forcibly exposed to Terrigen Mist. Number 7, Jean Grey. Hopping timelines once more to look at Jean Grey in the Days of Future Past storyline, not Madeline when she had Cable. I know they're clones, but they're different people. Clone rights for all clones. Marvel really needs that. So this all occurs on Earth 811, and Rachel, the daughter of Jean Grey, would be kidnapped and brainwashed, and she would be turned into the Hound, a mutant who hunts down other mutants. As in this future, the Mutant Registration Act had turned dystopian after the assassination of Senator Robert Kelly. Well, more dystopian. For a time, she would remain under Ahab's control, that being the people who kidnapped her, but her psychic power would link her with her victims, which would break the control they had over her. Some interesting things then happened, like her being displaced and sent to the main timeline, where she learned that there her mom was dead, and that her dad was married to someone who looked just like her mom and was having a baby with her. It was all a bit of a shock, because she was like, oh no, I was the firstborn, me, then Nate. Because she's Nate Gray's sister. Number 6, Silk Spectre. Now it's time to look at The Watchmen, the famed superhero deconstruction by Alan Moore, and it has become a must-read for comic and graphic novel fans. Here we have the equivalent of a Golden Age hero in Silk Spectre, a hero in it largely for the glory, the fame, and to further her career goals. Years later, she would settle down and have a child named Lori, who she would manage and push in a very stage mommy style way to become Silk Spectre 2 and carry on her legacy. One of the interesting things here is who Lori's father is. Back in the heyday of superhero teams, her mother had nearly been raped by nihilistic dark antihero The Comedian, but had been saved. However, years later, the two had gotten together consensually, at some point, and Lori had been conceived. It's such a fascinating and raw thing, and something that sometimes happens because life is complicated, not black and white. That's one of the great things about The Watchmen, the nuance, and how it treats you as intelligent by giving you the breathing room to decide how you feel about things. It's something that makes it unique. Not many works have the confidence to do that. Just stand there and be like, interpret me. Too many people are worried people will interpret it wrong. Which, I mean, maybe he should have been a little concerned given some of the spin-offs. I see you, HBO. Silk Spectre, superhero, stage mom. Number 5, Kitty Pryde, the Brood. Ah yes, the famous thumbnail for part 2. No, it was not a scene from a long-lost hentai, but rather a plot arc, wherein some X-Men were impregnated by the Brood. In this case, we're looking at Kitty. The Brood are an insectoid species in the Marvel-verse, who must lay their eggs inside hosts to breed, and they love the terror that brings out in their hosts. They're a very sadistic species. As if everything eventually is allowed to follow through gestation, the host will become Brood, aware the whole time the transformation is taking place. So let's talk Kitty. Kitty broke up with Colossus and returned to Charles's dream alongside Wolverine to open up the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. Then, 4 issues into Wolverine and the X-Men, she wakes up pregnant. Like, big pregnant, like a sim. However, instead of just blindly congratulating her because they're not the Avengers, the X-Men spring into action, because that's not normal, or okay, and they quickly figure out that this is a Brood infestation, and so they are able to halt the transformation and abort the Brood egg. It involves a lot of pregnant Kitty running around her underwear. I've seen the fan art, so for those of you who, well, you're welcome. You know who you are. Number 4, Witchblade. So, the Witchblade, Cliff Notes version, is a sentient gauntlet empowered by the forces of light, Angelus, in the universe. It hops from host to host, locked in an eternal battle with the darkness, the embodiment of, well, darkness and nothing, who also travels via host, always male, while the Witchblade is a bit more flexible. Before a time they had a male-female thing going on, which resulted in the first host, Sarah Prezi, being impregnated by the darkness's host, Jackie Estacado. This happened while Sarah was in a coma, and he did it to try and sway the balance and influence the Witchblade. The darkness has a weird love-hate relationship with the forces of light, Angelus, yeah. And sometimes it leads to impregnating ladies in comas. Here's the thing, before you go full squick, neither of them knew this at the time. Better? Sarah would give birth to a daughter named Hope, and her life would be saved by the Witchblade when she experienced complications with the pregnancy. Number 3, Rocket from DC. Rocket, the DC version, Rachel, was a sidekick to the character Icon and hailed from a very crime-ridden area. However, shortly after she began her adventures as a superhero, she discovered she was pregnant by her ex-boyfriend. She decided that she would have the baby and give birth to a son, Amistad Augustus Irvin, hence making her a teen mom, and it was handled very tastefully. After a period away, Rachel would return to her adventures as Rocket and find a way to balance both. She's a character who kind of fell by the wayside, but those who remember her do so fondly. Number 2, Adam Eve. Adam Eve comes to us from Robert Kirkman's Invincible comic series. Adam Eve was created to be a weapon, and yet turned out to be a very nice teenage girl and eventually woman, even with her extreme intelligence and powers. After having a crush on the lead hero Invincible for years, the two would eventually get together, and she would find herself pregnant and not be thrilled, as Mark, Invincible, was spending so many long periods of time in space. She would eventually have the baby, and well, Invincible it's a complicated comic. Kirkman lets the plot go where he wants, so a lot of things will just happen. Parallel dimensions, timeline skips, everything. Sometimes plots are dropped, never to return to or return to years later, but the relationship between Eve and Mark for some is an anchor, and many were happy to see them start a family together. Number 1, SIRYN and Jamie Madrox. So Jamie Madrox is the Multiple Man, a mutant who can create duplicates of himself. And over the years, the nature of these duplicates has been explored. So one night, Jamie split himself into 2, and when he woke up he discovered that he and his dupe, as they are called, had had sex with SIRYN and Monet separately, and neither was aware that he had split, and thought they had full Jamie. And Jamie didn't remember much because he had gotten blackout drunk. SIRYN, who most often hangs out with the X-Men, ended up pregnant during this night of passion, and she decides to keep it, and her and Jamie decide to give it a go. And for a while, it all seems okay. She goes into labor, he proposes to her while it's happening, cause timing, what's that? But then things start to go wrong. They need to do an emergency C-section, the baby is blue, not breathing properly. But after drama, a near kidnap plot and everything, it all seems okay. SIRYN held her baby, named him after her dead father, and then passed him to Jamie. And then it all goes horribly wrong, I'll never recover. The baby started being reabsorbed into his body. He had gotten his facts wrong. He had slept with Monet and his copy had been with SIRYN, hence the baby was a copy, not real, it was a part of him. And so when he touched it, he reabsorbed it, erasing the baby from existence. As you can imagine, that was a relationship ender. My heart. So those were 10 more superheroes who got pregnant. Can you think of any more? Let me know down below, and thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. I'm Sasha. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. See you again soon. Bye bye.